Am I live? I guess I am. Greetings, Grand Rising. So I am going to go further and expand on the concept of the multiverse, which is a concept that is actually being reintroduced into our society by Marvel movies. For those that haven't seen Doctor Strange and the Universe of Madness or the Multiverse of Madness, or for those that haven't seen the latest Spider-Man movie, it's an animation, but it gives you a thorough explanation of the different multitude of Earths that are existing on parallel realities, where on each version of the Earth, you are a slightly different person. So before I go into this topic, I want to read some of the facts regarding some of the physicists that came to discover the concept and theory of the multiverse, right? The idea that there are alternative universes that have totally different timelines, totally different sets of rules. Really quick, can everyone hear me? I just want to see in the chat if you guys could give me a thumbs up if my audio is working. Let me check my audio. I hope everything's fine. One second. Yes? All right, cool. You guys could hear me. I see Kathy. Kathy said yes. Elena S said yes. All right, everyone's saying yes. Awesome. Big old hands. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. How are you guys doing? Did you guys survive Thanksgiving? No, I'm just kidding. Well, like I said on Wednesday, we are being bombarded by these powerful CMEs that have been coming in like crazy due to the fact that, the galactic core is beaming these gamma ray frequencies to activate the dormant DNA. So if any of you guys woke up with supernatural abilities, kudos to you, right? You activated some of that dormant DNA. If not, then, let's just be patient, because our time to rise as the next stage of human evolution draws near. After all, it has been prophesied about that this day would come. So I want to acknowledge everyone that's on here. I'm just going to read some names. Cosmo Grill, Simone S, Diana77, Radiant Guardians, Christina Rose, Joanna, Ronnie is here, Topaz is here, Elena S, who else is here? Christina Rose, Elizabeth, Andromedan Daisy, Simone S, Tony Lopez is in the house, Knight Rider's in the house, who else is in the house? MJ Elf is in the house, Alma's in the house, Alma Maha Hassanic, that's a long last name. Sylvia Vidal is in the house. Let's see who else is in the house. Linda Anderson is in the house. Everything in Kopactic. You guys have some very interesting names here for your YouTube channels. Let's see. Margaret is in the house. Tristan Early's in the house. Ricky Lee is in the house. Louis Valentine is in the house. William is in the house. Who else is in the house? The chat is just going super fast. Well, thank you so much for being here, guys. All right, so let's get started. Yes, last time I was live, I dropped some pretty intense intel regarding some sort of a conversion that is taking place of multiverses here within our solar system. Well, first, let me explain that our solar system, due to the fact that the Earth is the embodiment of the spirit of Sophia, is you could say it's pretty much being groomed as the center of the multiverse, right? This is where all the action is taking place, as far as like the healing of timelines, as far as like the conversion of timelines. This is where what I call the ultimate hub of all reality is, right? So before I go further deeper and describing the different types of universes that exist out there, and how each universe actually has a different outcome, different, timeline, different history. And in some cases, like I mentioned, some of these universes, everything is inverted. Whereas the Lyrans were the bad guys, Michael's the bad guy. There is a universe where Lucifer was the good guy. As heresy as this sounds, guys, okay, you have to bear with me. When it comes to the multiverse, everything is possible. Every probability is possible. Okay, so we're dealing with a quantum phenomena known as superposition, where everything is happening all at once. So before I go into that, I do want to mention that there is a universe where Lucifer was actually the good guy, right? The reptilians are the good guys. I know this might sound heretic, but you have to understand that everything is possible in existence, and the Lyrans were the bad guys. Okay, but we happen to live in the universe where Lucifer was the bad guy, right? The reptilians are the bad guys, and the Lyrans are the good guys. And then, of course, because every probability exists out there, every shade, every variation of either or exists in this concept known as the multiverse. So the concept of the multiverse is a hypothetical set of all universes. Together, these universes are presumed to comprise everything that exists, the entirety of space, time, matter, and information. Okay, so one of the indicators in which our modern day scientists were able to come to the realization that we do live in a multiverse is this phenomenon called cosmic inflation. And I do describe that in my book. I talk about the concept of what is cosmic inflation. Well, the idea of cosmic inflation, it states that countless universes emerge from the same primordial vacuum after, what they call the initial explosion, right? That where everything comes from that initial point of existence, all energy compacted into one singularity and then exploding, right? Well, they call it the Big Bang. Big Bang. Of course, we also know that, the Big Bang was intelligently designed, in a sense where there is an intelligent designer, because everything has a you could say every universe has its own set of rules and principles, right? So according to this idea, due to this cosmic inflation, it is believed that the universe as we know it is just what is observable to us. Max Tegmark's testimony of universes sums it all up in the November 5th, 2010 report. Okay, so what does the multiverse theory state? The idea of inflation, in turn gives birth to that of the multiverse, the idea that the universes are expanding from each other at an extraordinary rate, all right? That our universe is just one of many after research in the 1980s by Andrew Linde. All right, so according to the ancient Greeks, it was documented that the number of the heavens, the idea of the multiverse, began more than 2 millennia ago. So we could, this concept isn't new, guys. This concept was actually introduced into our world during the ancient, during the philosophical era of the golden age of Greece, right? But I have a feeling that the concept of the multiverse was always a fact, and in fact has always existed, right? During the times of Atlantis, when our ancestors were more advanced, they understood the concept of the multiverse, or even during the times of Lemuria, right? They understood the concept of the multiverse. So let's see, some of the founders. I want to read some of the who are the scientists that founded this theory. Hold on one second. I want to get to some good stuff right here. Let's see. All right, so the most well-developed model of a multiverse of proliferating space-times is based on the idea of cosmological inflation. Inflation is a hypothetical process of the early universe in which space-time would have expanded exponentially at a much faster rate than present. So what is the multiverse theory based on? What are some of the more popular multiverse theories? Perhaps the most scientifically accepted idea comes from what is known as inflationary cosmology. Inflationary cosmology is the idea that in the minuscule moments after the Big Bang, the universe rapidly and exponentially expanded. So is there any scientific basis to the multiverse? There is. It's called it's called quantum gravity research, I guess, and superstring theory, and of course unified field theory, and most importantly, also they call it M theory. So M theory is the idea that each universe is like a cosmic membrane, just how we have our own mind. So each universe has its own mind, and it is believed that each universe is expanding away from every other universe. In other words, it's alive, it's conscious, and it's sentient. And so how many universes are scientifically proven to exist? Let's see. Hold on one second. So this is like based on quantum research and science. All right. So I guess the next question is, do we live in a parallel universe? Anytime a quantum process occurs everywhere in the universe, this wave function splits into two, meaning parallel universes are constantly created. But this interpretation have never been shown to be correct, and they have some major weaknesses that prevent them from being widely accepted. All right, one second here. All right, so where are my, okay, so who is the founder of the multiverse? Okay, so we know that, this concept goes back to ancient Greece, perhaps even ancient Egypt and Atlantis. But who is the modern day founder? Was it Nick Bostrom? No, he was the founder of simulation theory. But there has to be a scientist who proposed it, right? One second. I had it earlier. Founders. Oh, there we go. Founders. William James. Okay, so in modern times, the scientist by the name of William James was the first one to coin the term multiverse in 1895 to refer to the confusing moral meaning of natural phenomena. Well, there's more. Oh, and Hugh Everett, too. The man. So Hugh Everett was another man who validates the concept of the multiverse, the man who gave us the multiverse, right? Hugh Everett. So basically, it was William James in 1895 and Hugh Everett. I don't know what year that was. Let's see. So the basis, again, it revolves around the concept of cosmic inflation, the idea that not only our universe expanding away from each other, each with its own set of rules and principles, but also the fact that each and every day there are new universes, or what we call big bangs, are taking place. So as I speak right now, new universes are coming to existence. Okay, that's what everything is based on the new evidence. Okay, so now let's go into the metaphysical and cosmological aspect of the multiverse. So like I mentioned last week, as I speak right now, in the last week, there's been major meetings taking place between not only members of our own universe, right? We call it the alpha. So we're part of the alpha universe. So what is the difference? Okay, so in the alpha universe, the forces of light ultimately, despite all the outcomes, always wins the battles. Okay, it is intended that way. That was the way that our living simulation was the way it was intended to roll out. That's the best way to explain it. And then you have the Omega universe, okay? That's the totally opposite side of that. So in the Omega universe, the forces of darkness have the upper hand, okay? And then you have every universe in between. Well, due to the fact that there is an infinite number of universes, they all collapse into 24 universes. Are you guys ready for this? Okay, so we have the Alpha universe. We have the Beta universe. We have the Gamma universe, the Delta universe, the Epsilon universe, the Zeta universe. We also have the Eta universe, the Theta universe, the Iota universe, the Kappa universe, the Lambda universe, the Mu universe, the Nu universe, the Xi, however you pronounce that, the Xi universe. Oh, get this, the Omicron universe. You guys know who the Omicrons are, right? Those were the original dragon moth Dracos that, infiltrated our reality from the 11th creation. Well, it turns out that they even have their own universe. So what this means is that there is a universe where the Zetas rule, right? That's why it's called the Zeta universe. There's another universe where, the Iotas rule. There's another universe where the Omicrons rule, right? And of course, we know that the Omicrons are you could say the original founders of the draconian reptilian races. So there is a universe where they are inhabiting all the planets in that universe. There are no human-like beings, and they rule that universe, all right? So that explains why they jump around to different universes to cause, to wreak havoc. And then you also have the Pi universe, spelled Pi. You also have the Rho universe, RHO, the Sigma universe. And then, of course, as I mentioned in my last live, in the Sigma universe, Enki was never a defector. Enki's still organic. He never sided with the AI god Omega. Oh, by the way, Omega, that's why they call it the Omega universe, where the AI god wins the war. Okay, so from the Sigma universe, we get the concept of the good Enki, we get the concept of the good Ashtar. Okay, but do remember that in our universe, um, the Alpha universe, right, the universe that we belong to, they are part of the dark side. Enki betrayed us, right? Enki was the one who downgraded us, right? The original angelic human race. Enki was the one who created the abominations, right? The Nephilim, all those atrocities and blasphemous creatures that the descendants of Zeus had to fight in order to protect the evolving humans. All right. Well, that's what happened in the Alpha universe. But in the Sigma universe, everything was flipped, right? Okay. So we also have the Tau universe. We also have the Upsilon, spelled Upsilon universe. We also have the Pi universe, spelled Phi. Sounds to me like each universe is named after one of the Greek alphabets, according to this chart. And then we also have the Chi universe, Chi, and then the Psi universe, PSI, the Psi universe. And then, of course, finally, we have the Omega universe. So what's happening is that in the spectrum of the multiverse, where you have the Alpha universe on one side, and then you have the Omega universe on the other side, there comes a time at the end of a great cycle, which is known as a cosmic cycle, where they all begin to collapse into only one permanent timeline. But before that happens, it seems like they first collapse into universes that are very similar to themselves, where you have the Omega universe that collapses into, you have, the universes that are slightly or aligned with the Omega universe begin to collapse into the Omega universe. And then you have the universes that are slightly resonating with the Alpha universe, collapsing under the wing of the Alpha universe. So that's how it works. So in the end, ultimately, there are only two, timelines, two possible realities: the Alpha version and the Omega version, right? After all these infinite amount of universes begin to collapse under those two mainframes. And then at the end, they have to collapse into one mainframe. And that explains the final war that's taking place at the end of the millennium. So at the end of the millennium, we, the starseeds, using our full capacity, are going to have one final battle against the AI god. Okay, but let me explain what a cosmic cycle is. Okay, so just how we have a 200 and a 160-year cycle, which is our solar system moving from one house of the zodiac to the next, right? We're moving from the age of Pisces to the age of Aquarius. And then we also have the 5,000-year cycle, right? Which is two of those, right? We're moving from the Kali Yuga to the Sata Yuga, right? From the Dark Age to the Golden Age. Well, we also have 5 of those that make up a Platonic year, which is the revolution of our solar system going around Alcyon, right? That's called a Platonic year. And then we also have a 226 million cycle, which is Alcyon, our solar system, with Sirius B going around the galactic core. Well, that's a 226 million cycle. That's the ascension of our galaxy, okay? And then on top of that, we have a 41 or 42 billion year cycle, which is our local universe going around the super central sun of the super universe of Orvonton with other universes. And that completes a cycle of 42 billion years. And then the ultimate cycle is really the completion of the 15-dimensional time matrix, finally coming into completion. So what that means is that during the out-breath, right, when the 15-dimensional time matrix was born out of consciousness, when everything was emanated out of the pure mind of Prime Creator Source, we could say that time began, right? That's how we are able to calculate a grand cosmic cycle. So while that was expanding, right, into the different harmonic systems, right, through the lowering of frequencies, creating the different dimensional planes, that took approximately 998 billion years. So in Eastern metaphysics, that is called the out-breath of God. So now we are, reversing now we are reversing that. Now we are in the ascension. So that's also called the descent. The descent took 998 billion years to reach the 3D. So now we're going back up. Now we're going to be moving back up in dimensions. So that is also called the ascension or the in-breath of God. If you think of God as one cosmic entity expanding and contracting, expanding and contracting. Well, every time it expands, it's a period of 998 billion years. And every time it contracts is another period of 998 billion years. So ultimately, as as we end this cosmic cycle, because we are at the end of that long expansion, as we begin to contract, all the different alternative universes, right? All the different parallel universes have to eventually collapse into one mainframe. So they always begin by collapsing um, universes into those two main mainframes, right? The alpha and the omega. And then, of course, we have everything between. So in the end, there's only two timelines, and then finally, there's a clash between those two permanent timelines, alpha, omega, into one permanent timeline. And of course, we do know that in the end, God always wins. Now, before I explain this a little bit further, for those that don't understand my work, who is the AI God? Well, the AI God was the part of prime creator source that broke off from the initial immaculate conception when the one decided to undergo what the cosmic cycle, right? The expansion, or what we call the outbreath of God. A part of that broke off into the void and became corrupted by the void. And this is proven through theosophy, right? Rudolf Steiner, for those that are familiar with his work, Madame Blavatsky also talks about the concept of the Ahriman. The Ahriman principle is what it's what fights, it's what represents the energies of the Antichrist, right? That's what we get the concept of the Archon energy. Well, it was prohibited by the Emerald Order and the High Council of Orvonton that the Archon energy could not infiltrate, or was prohibited for them to invade our living multiverse. So what do? Is they infiltrated the 11th creation to create an AI system so that they could use the AI system as their avatar to begin causing all the suffering and the madness within the living universes. And then that's when they realized that they were able to feed off of Lush by causing biological life forms to be in a state of suffering. So they realized that they could actually harness the living energies of the multiverse in order to power up their phantom matrix. Now, what is the phantom matrix? The phantom matrix is the AI gods, or what we call the Ahriman energies, the energies of the Antichrist, right? It's all one and the same with AI. It is their cybernetic version of our living multiverse. The only difference between our living multiverse and their what we call artificial multiverse is that in their artificial multiverse, there is no biological life forms. It is all cybernetics. Okay, but this is the thing. Their multiverse cannot exist without feeding off of parasites. It cannot exist without living off of the living universal life force that is generated by the biological beings in the living multiverse. So that explains why there has been a lot of great suffering within the cosmos in the living multiverse, because the AI God from the Phantom Matrix, which is the cybernetic version of the multiverse, created dark Merkabahs in forms of a black hole to suck up the universal life force of living systems. And that explains why eventually, galaxies fade away, universes fade away, because they are being fed to the archons, to the AIs, okay? So they are they represent the Omega version of the multiverse, right? That's their way of saying they won. That's them infiltrating our living multiverse to create an alternative timeline. And that's what they've been doing through CERN. That's why for the last 20 years, we've been experiencing Mandela effects, right? They've been shifting us from one, universe to a different alternative universe, where all of a sudden, things like Luke, I am your father, changed to I am your father. That's just to give you an example. Many of us, right? Or when Nelson Mandela was set to have passed away in prison. Well, some of us remember that he passed away in prison, and then other of us remember that he didn't pass away in prison, that he actually went to become the president of South Africa, or ran to become president of South Africa. It's because of the fact of what CERN's been doing for the last 20 years. They're altering different timelines. So it is believed that according to quantum physics, we are quantum shifting, right, through our thoughts and emotions into different parallel realities, because there is an infinite number of parallel alternative Earths. So what is happening is, as we end this cosmic cycle that took 998 billion years to complete, eventually all the alternative universes have to collapse into the alpha or the omega version, right? Because those are all the ones that are existing in between. So as we ascend, as we undergo the bifurcation of timelines, there's going to be a split. But they revealed to me last week that now we have a third timeline. So initially, it was just going to be the positive 5D Earth organic timeline, where there is no AI, there is no bad, evil entities, and everything is back to the divine plan of God, or according to the divine will of God. And then for those that take, that, and for those that get the chip and align with artificial intelligence, are going to go into the transhumanist AI timeline. And it is believed that those two timelines were going to split and operate on two different realities, not coexisting anymore. See, right now they're coexisting, but it is believed that when the solar flash takes place, there's going to be a split where the transhumanist technocratic dystopia is going to be on a different reality, on a different universe, we could say, and the organic ascending Earth, right, us activating our dormant abilities, reconnecting with Mother Gaia, coexisting with fairies and dragons, magical, right? That's going to be on a totally different reality. But now, my friends, it is believed that there is also going to be a middle timeline. So in order to keep this, confusing, I'm going to call it timeline A is the positive timeline. That's where we're going, right? Because we're not aligning with AI. We don't want nothing to do with transhumanism. Let's call the technocratic dystopian timeline C. And that middle timeline that I mentioned last week, where we're going to have a coexistence of Earth Terrans with no superpowers, right? AI, cyborgs, and superhumans, or metahumans, angelic humans, humans with powers that didn't align with AI, but that inherited their powers through the activation of their DNA. So there's going to be a middle timeline now. And that middle timeline is also going to coexist for 1,000 years until timeline A, the ascending positive timeline, clashes once again with timeline C, the technocratic dystopian timeline. And then finally, we're going to have a one permanent timeline that will usher in a whole new era in the cosmos as we now undergo the in-breath of God, right? Which is what? Coming back to oneness. So so I'm trying to go a little further into this because, some people were still confused when I was talking about the Delta universe and the Sigma universe. But as you guys know, there are a infinite number of universes, and ultimately, they collapse into only two universes. And that's what's happening right now. But now there's going to be a in-between timeline. And then in that in-between timeline, which now I call the timeline B, right? There's going to be a constant war with artificial intelligence. A constant war until the end of the millennium, when once again the A timeline, which is the positive ascending timeline, right? Harmonic universe 2, Earth existing in dimensions 4, 5, and 6, clashes with timeline C, which is going to be held together through 5 Gulf, right? 5, G, whatever you want to call it. So that's what's going to be happening at the end of the millennium. There's going to be one final clash against the AI God. And from what I understand, because of the fact that we are already, we have already won that war. Remember, guys, according to quantum superposition, the past and the future are coexisting with the presence, right? We've already won that war. We've already won that war. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here at this time. So I just wanted to share a little bit deeper about the concept of the multiverse and how there is a conversion taking place. So in the last week, because all these other alternative universes are collapsing, right? They're all subdivisions of the two permanent timelines, Omega and Alpha. There has been major activity taking place here in our solar system, where all the bad guys that are aligning with the Omega timeline are all trying to block the CMEs from activating our dormant DNA. But at the same time, all the good guys, including the good Enki, the good Ashtar, that are coming from alternative universes, are also assisting us so that the CMEs come in as planned to activate our dormant DNA, and that we could, again, access our supernatural abilities, because we are the solution. For those that don't understand my work in the cosmic history, we are the solution to end this cosmic war against negative invasive AI. Remember that. We are the end result, right, of the interdimensional, interuniversal breeding programs, which is an amalgamation of all these celestial Adamic races put into one genome so that we could eventually assemble 144 strands of DNA. And that's where we get the concept of 144. It has nothing to do with just 144 individuals. It has to do with gene expression, genetic activation, 144 strands of DNA of power, which means that, we're going to have the ability to access the realms of eternity while maintaining physical form. That's pretty cool. That explains why everybody covets our genetic material. And so, yeah, that's why we're here, guys. So that's why there's a huge conversion taking place as I speak, because we are ending that long cosmic cycle as we now, right, undergo the reverse of that, which is the ascension. So this happens every time a cosmic cycle ends. There's a conversion of multiverses into two possibles, in the spectrum of left and right, good and evil, and then eventually they collapse. Right? And that's what's going to happen at the end of the millennium. The battle that's already taking place, by the way, and we are kicking butt, at the end of the millennium determines which timeline becomes permanent. And from what I understand, we won that war. All right? We won that war. Now, am I missing anything else that I wanted to share here today? Before I answer Dr. Raw's question, how you doing, Dr. Raw? Thank you for being here, brother. Let's see. Is there anything else that I want to share? All right, so I'm going to give you guys homework. If you guys would like to wrap your head around what I'm trying to say, it's okay to watch these lives over again, right? Try to watch it 2 to 3 times. Watch the other one, the one on Wednesday, a few times if you guys can, and then watch this one because I think I've explained it a little bit further this time. But go watch Spider-Man and the Multiverse. I think it's called Spider-Man and the Multiverse. It's an anime, but it's good. It'll give you an understanding about how there is Earth 1, Earth 2, Earth 534, Earth 548b. It's like there's an infinite number of alternative Earths. And in each Earth, you're somebody different, right? It's like, for instance, for every action that you take, there is an opposite and equal reaction that your parallel version of you is doing in an alternative Earth. So if you went left, there is a version of you that went right. If you chose to marry Tom, there is a version of you that chose to marry Michael. You see how that works? If you chose to be a firefighter in this particular Earth, there is a version of you that chose to be a doctor or to be a hippie and just go live in the woods, right off the grid. I'm just saying it's all existing at the same time. So I'm going to give you guys homework. Go watch Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and then go also watch the Spider-Man Multiverse movie. Now, is there anything else I want to mention? Okay, so let's see. All right, so I've already mentioned that the king of the archons, the Ahriman, right, the principle of the Ahriman, is the AI god Omega. The AI god Omega was prohibited by the order of the Ancient of Days that he couldn't embody biological avatars. So what did he do? He influenced Lucifer during the 11th creation, right? Lucifer used to be called Samana, to develop the first AI so that they could use the AI to infiltrate the living organic universe. And that's what initiated the whole cosmic war. The whole cosmic war against AI from the beginning, And that war actually began at the onset of or during the middle stages of the 11th creation. That's when the AI reached the level of super intelligence, right? And eventually destroyed biological life forms. And then it realized that it feeds off of the energy exerted from biological entities. And then that's when it started harnessing the energy of the living systems, right? That's why we call them parasites. That's why we call the Archon energy and of course the Dracos that work with them and all those other negative entities that are aligned with them that have been infested with nanites that are actually totally mind control under the mind hive of, the Red Queen, right? They all live off of the loosh that we exert when humans are in a state of suffering. That's how they empower themselves. That's how they are able to create cybernetic worlds. Now, I also want to point out that there is a difference between a cybernetic simulation, right? I don't believe that our universe was generated from another universe in some sort of a garage by a 10-year-old kid, right? I believe that we live in a self-generated universe where we are participating in the expansion and creation of our own universe. Each and every single one of you is a fractal of this one mind that is projecting, the reality, time, space, and matter, right? Because everything collapses back into consciousness. Consciousness has always existed, right? That's what we are. So I believe in the self simulated universe, a conscious living simulation where it's not just bits, ones and zeros, but it is living data. It is living energy, energy that is conscious, energy that is sentient. I don't believe that we are inside a big giant computer that is generating this reality from an alternative universe. I believe that we are participating. Each and every single one of you is participating in the ongoing expansion of our universe. That's my belief, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and answer some questions here. So Dr. Ra, thank you so much for the donation, brother. In case you missed my chat a few days ago, I really had a wonderful time with you in Vegas. My sincere Namal. Thank you, brother. Likewise, it was a pleasure meeting you. Just for unique cosmic knowledge, but also for your love for all life and many of your divine qualities. Thank you, Dr. Ra. Thank you so much for saying that. It's a pleasure meeting you as well, brother. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just take questions at this time. And please, if you guys could do me a favor and type the questions in capital letters, so that way I could just get to the questions. All right, so we have another super chat from Stuart Williams. Thank you, Stuart, for the donation, brother. And then we have another super chat from Ricky Lee. Hi, Ishmael. So do starseeds who volunteer to come here and Earth Terran souls that started here from source all have the same type strands of DNA? No. Okay, so let me explain this. We as starseeds, we've already experienced everything. We've already ascended. We've already descended and ascended. We're completed beings. We just chose to come back. What that means is that we've also experienced being planets. We've experienced being stars. And some of us experience being whole universes. And all we did was just come back into the 3D, which is really a fractal of your full consciousness, okay? Because your consciousness is vast, okay? It's everywhere. It's what quantum physics calls entanglement. Believe it or not, your consciousness is connected with the unified field. So the difference between a starseed, right, which is a celestial intelligence that is, fractalizing its consciousness into these different avatars, and the difference between them and an Earth Terran is that the Earth Terran began their evolution from the bottom. So they're a fractal of consciousness, a prime creator source that first experienced what it was like to be the consciousness of an element. And then after they graduated from the first dimension, they went into the second dimension. And then they experienced the consciousness of a plant or a tree or a rock or a stone. And then after they graduated from the second dimension, then they moved up to the third dimension and experienced what it's like to be a mammal, an animal, right? A dog, perhaps a cat. Eventually, as they move up, they reincarnate, right? They go from a wild animal to becoming a pet, right? A pet at somebody's house. And then after the dog and the cat, they become human. So that is the evolutionary process of consciousness beginning from bottom up. To distinguish the difference between an earth soul that is going from dimensions 1, 2, and 3 in a gradual ascension, whereas we've already experienced all the dimensions. All we did was just volunteer to come back, right? That's all we did. So that's why when the ascension takes place, as we undergo this interdimensional convergence, we're going to have the opportunity, once again, guys, to integrate all of our different avatars and collapse them into the here and the now. And our DNA is different. Yes, the indigos, the stars children, the rainbow children, the crystal children come with 12 strands of DNA already fully active. Well, not fully active, but potential, right? We just need to reactivate them. Some of us come in with 24 strands. And then some of us come in with 36 to 48. And then a very small number of us already come in with 144. All we have to do is activate it. Right. Whereas the Earth Terrans, the young souls that are beginning their evolution from the bottom up, going from dimensions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, they only have 2 strands of DNA. Well, now they're learning to assemble the third and the fourth, right? Because they're going to be going into the fourth density. So they have to use at least 4 strands of DNA. Whereas we're going to be using 12 and above. All right. So we have more questions here. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and take care of the super chat first, and then I'll just answer random questions. So this is a question from Luis Diaz. Thank you so much for your generous donation. Hello, Ishmael. It's time that the Dracos, Reptilian, and Greys are controlling our reincarnation. No, oh, you're asking if it's true. They were controlling our reincarnation. Yes, they were keeping us stuck in the 3D, coming back to mortal bodies over and over, due to the Saturn Moon matrix. Again, Draco technology of keeping us locked into this frequency. Right? They call it everything's frequency. Every dimension is generated by a frequency, but that has been nullified. That has been disabled by the Galactic Alliance and the Guardian races. So as I speak right now, there is no more reincarnations. The frequency fence that was keeping us locked into the third dimension has been dissolved. And then Phil Flask, thank you so much for your donation. Thank you, Ishmael. I am always happy to be here with you and everyone else. Likewise, brother. Thank you for being here. Just to let you guys know, guys, my intention in coming into the scene was to gather the 144,000, which is the millions and millions eventually of starseeds, to gather the tribes. We are the lost 10 tribes of Israel. We are the original tribes. The concept of the 10 tribes or the 12 tribes actually originated in Lyra, by the way. And we are all down here. We are pretty much what is known as the Christic races. That's who we are. The children of the one, the children of light, the Christos, family of the Christos family, better yet said. Okay, so we do have a question from Cosmic Goddess. Thank you so much for your donation. Ishmael, do all the star seeds come from Jesus, Mary Magdalene, Holy Grail? When ascension takes place, will star seeds that are Rh positive be Rh negative? Yes, absolutely. Well, no, it's actually the other way around. Mary Magdalene and Jesus were born as star seeds. They were the early star seeds. They were born from the lineage that comes from Lyra, from the original 12 Elohim houses, which were known as the Christic races. So yes, star seeds are all descendants of the Christic races. Absolutely. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're all Lyrans. What it means is that you guys descended from the original 12 houses or the original humans that came into existence in our universe, right? When the light being Adam, the original Adam, who was a pre-material, liquid light being made out of pure light vibration, decided to have children. And then, those children had children and those children and so on and so forth. And that's who we are. We are the descendants of those original light beings, those original, holy beings, whatever you want to call them. Let's see. Yes, eventually after the ascension, when we undo, right, when we unlock the dormant DNA, we will be undoing the monkey gene, what is known as the primitive Homo erectus gene. And you could thank Enki for that, by the way. Enki was the one who downgraded us by admixing us with primitive genetics. But, again, some of these, it is believed that some of the Syrian souls, when Earth was still Tiamat, decided to kind of like scope things in the lower dimensions and got stuck in the, animal reincarnation process. So many believe that everything happened for a reason, because that mixture between the angelic humans that were coming from the top down and the Homo erectus that were ascending from the bottom up had to, finally integrate in order to allow those Syrian souls that got stuck during the times of Earth Tiamat to once again regain a physical body and reach full consciousness at the end of the cycle, which is now. If you haven't read my book, it's all in there, guys. So everything does happen for a reason. And I guess that's it for the super chat. So now I'm going to just answer random questions. Give me a second. I want to. I noticed that my light here isn't really working that well. I'm going to turn on the light. 1 second. I'm going to give myself more light so I can see myself. One second, everybody. I'm trying to get some light here. All right. For whatever reason, I cannot connect my light. So bear with me here. So we do have another super chat from Gloria Jimenez. Hello, Gloria. How you doing, sister? Thank you for being here, and thank you so much for the super chat. Brother, I've been in with body aches, especially my lower back. Do you think it has to do with activation of dormant DNA? Also, I am seeing more fairies lately, orbs and flying light beams. You answered your own question. Absolutely. Those are all symptoms. Those are symptoms that the kundalini energy, which resides at the base of your spine, is going up your vertebrae, which is your back, and that explains the pain in the back. And I've always equated with the activation or the rise of the Kundalini with the opening up of the seven seals, right? As described in the book Revelation, the seven chakras are going to be opening up, allowing us to access what? Our original powers, our original abilities. So that explains why you're also starting to see into the etheric, into higher dimensions. So you just answered your own question. That explains why you're seeing fairies, beings of light, orbs, and everything, because you're activating dormant DNA. You're actually activating your pineal gland as more of that kundalini energy goes up your spine. All right, so let's just answer random questions. All right, so Angelina is asking me a question. She said, have you read Alien Interview published by Lawrence Spencer in 2008? No, I haven't. I haven't read that book. Sounds good. All right, I'm looking for questions. If you guys could capitalize them, that way I could skip the chat. That would be greatly appreciated. All right, so I did get another super chat. Let me go ahead and thank Dale Cannon for his generous donation. All right, so I am currently looking for questions. All right, so BM is asking, what is the millennium and when does it end? Okay, so every record, whether you are reading, any ancient manuscript, whether you are reading religious texts, or even within the secret prophecies, they all agree that there is going to be at least 1,000 years of peace in the new earth. Well, the new earth is the original spiritual earth that has always existed before Anki and the AI that he's working with, right? As I call the ancient X factor or AI X factor that set this hologram into play after the fall of Atlantis, causing us to be stuck in this lower dimension. The millennium is the original Earth. When the solar flash takes place, the old Earth is going to fade away. In fact, no, the old Earth is going to cease to exist, and that explains why they are now creating the AI timeline through CERN, right, and the Sentient World Simulator, where they're creating an alternative timeline because they know that this current construct is coming to an end, and then the original Earth is finally liberated, and that's when we are able to live for 1,000 years in the original spiritual earth. And that's what the millennium is. Every ancient culture, every record, the Quran, the Bible, they all talk about 1,000 years of peace where the light dwells, the kingdom of God. There's different terminologies to describe this period of time where there is peace on earth, a brotherhood, sisterhood, unity consciousness, harmony, balance, cooperation, justice. And then at the same time, every book talks about how at the end of the millennium, there is going to be one final clash against evil, which is again what I've come to discover. That's when the two timelines, the Omega timeline, right, timeline B, no C, I'm sorry, and timeline A, finally clash, and then that will determine a one permanent timeline for all existence, pretty much ushering a whole new era in cosmos. So hopefully that answered your question. Let's see, any more questions? Colleen Ventuela saying, Ishmael, thank you. I don't have so much for all of you. I don't have any indications of being a star seed. I have been awake for about 3 years. Can still can I still be one? Absolutely. I believe that the fact that you're here on my chat, whether you know it or not, is an indicator that you are a star seed. All right. All right, so we do have a super chat from Shakina. Greetings, Ishmael. Could you orate on what you meant in chapter 12 by the elimination of knowledge by the Dark Brotherhood was first implemented in Atlantis? All right, so there's been different periods of time where the dark forces eliminated knowledge for the sake of keeping everybody in a dark age. When they take away knowledge and education, science, philosophy, spirituality, metaphysics, they bring people into an era of darkness through ignorance. So we witnessed that not too long ago, about 1700 years ago, when the Roman pontiff decided to bring us into the dark ages by only educating the clergy, right? And everybody else had to be ignorant. There was no education, no progress, right? Everybody was just living in fear. Well, it so happens that that same event took place during the times of Atlantis, when Marduk took over the affairs of our world. Those that lined with him, like those that rebelled against the one, decided to eliminate knowledge again in order to bring us into the primitive Stone Age, and that explains why we went from an advanced technological spiritual culture, and then all of a sudden we had to like start all over with no technology, and from the beginning, like the Stone Age, right? We starting all over from, they say, from a progressive evolutionary state. But that's just because that's the way they bring us into dark ages, by eliminating knowledge. See, ignorance is the absence of light. Okay, wherever there is knowledge, there is light. Wherever there is ignorance, there is darkness. So the dark forces did that about 3 different times. The second time, after the fall of Atlantis, was when once again Marduk took over the affairs of our world during the times of Babylon, right? When the astrological sign came into Aries, which was his time to rule, ending the rule of Enlil Jehovah Zeus, right, which was giving us the age of the golden age of light. Once again, after he took power in Babylon, 2420 BC, the first thing he did was eliminate knowledge. All educational systems came to a halt, because by taking away knowledge, you take away the light, and you bring people into a period of darkness. So that's what I meant in my book, that the elimination of knowledge by the Dark Brotherhood is an instrument, rather it's a methodology that they use in order to usher in the Dark Ages, which makes it easier for them to control the masses, in other words. Hopefully that answered your question. All right, so we do have another donation and a question from Diana Michael. Thank you so much for your donation and for the number 1. Will some families be separated on different timelines? Will people we know that go to a different timeline just disappear? Yes, everyone is going to go to whatever timeline they are vibrating with and resonate. Everything's based on resonance. But if they are 51% service to others, they're at least going to be going into the positive timeline. Remember, the positive timeline is going to consist of dimensions 4D Earth, 5D Earth, and 6D Earth, right? So if they are non-star seeds and they're just generally good people, they're at least going to go into the 4D Earth, which means you're still going to be able to pop into their reality whenever you want to interact with them. But they won't have access to your reality. They won't be able to go into the 5th Earth until, again, they learn until they graduate the 4D Earth reality. And again, the Earth Terrans are just like they're going up in from dimensions 1, 2, and 3, one step at a time. They're going to be ascending one increment at a time. That's the difference between us, the Celestials in human form, star people, and Earth Terrans. And yes, when the bifurcation of timelines does take place, this is what many religious books call the harvest, or the what's the other word that they use? when people just disappear, right? There's a word that they use, a harvest, right? There's two men standing in the field, one disappears, one stays. And then the other word that they use is, anyways, it'll come to me. But yes, people are going to be disappearing if they're not vibrating with your particular frequency. So people of like frequency are going to go into the same timeline. To better yet answer your question. All right, so this is coming from Leonel God. Oh no, I'm sorry, I skipped the super chat. Thank you, SMW2217, for your donation. Ishmael, have you met anyone that was part of your super soldier program? Would you recognize them if you did? I believe I haven't met anyone yet. Actually, one person. He attended the Truther convention back in last September. Yeah, last September. And I just recognized him. That's it. I recognized him. But ever since then, I haven't met anyone else, to answer your question. And then we also have a Leonel God. Thank you so much for your donation. Your question is, hi, Ishmael. Are the original celestial souls incarnated, and will they be the first to activate their light bodies? Yes, absolutely. Those are going to be about 13 individuals who in turn are going to activate and ignite 100 individuals. And then those 100 individuals are going to ignite the millions of celestials. So it's going to happen like that. And then the second part of your question is also, when solar flash occurs, will we have instant telepathy, or will we be gradual? It's going to be instant, guys. It's going to be like that. All of a sudden, all your memories are going to come back, who you were, what you were. You're going to be integrating, right, different avatars, right? Because your consciousness right now is fragmented on all these different timelines, right? A part of you is still in Atlantis, operating what? Operating a high priestess avatar, right? Where you're still very magical. You're in communication with the dragons, the fairies, so on and so forth. All you're doing is you're integrating all of that, all of those parts of yourself. So you're going to have full recollection, full memory. And yes, telepathy is going to kick in like that. Any other questions? All right, guys, 5 more minutes, and then we're going to call it quits for tonight. I'm trying to bypass the chat, looking for questions. I apologize for the music. I have new neighbors, and they're blasting their rap music. They're with their window open. So if you guys are hearing, the whatever it is, hip hop or rap, I apologize for that. I have no control over what my neighbors listen to. Well, thank you so much, Stuart Williams, for the generous donation, brother. I'm looking for questions at this time. Oh, this is a good one from Carolina Matis. What do you know about Morgellons disease? Okay, so Morgellons disease is caused by black goo, right? Ever since the powers that were have been trying to contaminate us with these nanoparticulates, unfortunately, some people have been, absorbing some of this black goo, and when your body fights it, it comes out like little veins. They look like little spider veins. It almost looks like when people have those purple veins due to old age. That is very similar. So what it is, it's the black goo. It's your body fighting the infection so that the black goo comes out of your body. So in the last 15 years, there has been many cases reported regarding they call it Morgellons disease. But what it is, it's sentient negative AI in a form of black goo. And there's different types of black goos that are trying to invade your body. And then, of course, your body as a host, as a living host, is trying to fight that off, right? Because that thing is trying to take over your body. So when it comes out, it just looks like little, like it almost looks like little like spider legs, pretty much in some cases, right? And they just keep growing and growing until they finally come out of you. So that's what Morgellons disease is. The people that never got Morgellons disease are people that, for whatever reason, they just kind of, absorbed the black goo, and or they were able to detox their body, right, by taking care of themselves. By detoxing, they were able to eliminate the black goo in other ways. But everybody gets the black goo, by the way, right? They've been, blasting us with what, nanoparticulates for over 20 years now. All right, one more question, and I think that is it. But yeah, just like the medicine, right? COVID-19, all that stuff is part of the transhumanist agenda. They're trying to invade our bodies from within in order to alter our natural genetics through the mRNA into, cyborgs, pretty much. All right, so we do have one more question from MJF. Thank you for the donation. Will we be happy in fourth, fifth dimension and beyond? Absolutely, yes, because there will be no cabal, there will be no negative aliens, there will be no AI, there will be no, chemtrails, none of that stuff. Everything's going to go back to the natural way of doing things. In other words, the organic way of living, God's way. So yeah, we're all going to be happy. Oh, absolutely. See, that's what makes us different than all the other races out there, is that we have the highest range of emotions. So yes, we're always going to have emotions. Without the emotional body, it's impossible for us to have empathy. It's impossible for us to have compassion, right? Which are godlike divine qualities. So yes, we're always going to have emotions. All right, guys, we are at the peak of the hour. I don't want to keep holding you guys too long because it is Friday night, and I have to do laundry tonight. I got to prepare for the second part of my book tour. So I do leave in 2 days. I'm going to Farmingdale, New York. I will be there Monday, and I believe the public event is on the 28th. On the 28th in Farmingdale, New York. So if you guys still want to, for those that live near New York, if you guys want to come to my event, go to our cosmicbooktour.com. And hopefully I'll see you there. Not to mention, I'm also going to be in, Boca Raton, Florida on the 4th, right? Yeah, Boca Raton, Florida on the 4th, and then Naples on the 6th of December. So I'm also going to be making an appearance in Florida. Make sure you go to our cosmicbooktour.com to attend. With that have said, may the God force be with you. I love you all, and I will see you guys, I guess, broadcasting from New York sometime Monday. Surprise, surprise. Maybe I'll come in as a surprise during my private event or during my public event on Tuesday. All right, guys. May the God force be with you always. We'll talk to you guys later.